Podcast junkie? Social butterfly? Active learner? Casual listener? Go-giver? No matter your podcast listening personality, Podopolo has something for you. Podopolo is the app that makes listening social and meaningful. Download it now from either App Store to build your personalized listening library from 4 million podcasts, connect with friends and hosts, win rewards, and make a meaningful social impact. Curious? Of course you are. So grab Podopolo now on the Apple App Store or Google Play, or check us out at podopolo.com. And if you have a podcast, claim it for free. That's podopolo.com. When you think of entrepreneurs in tech, what's the picture that forms in your mind? A young guy in a hoodie in his garage? A bunch of bros in dark rooms lit only by the blue light of their computers, surrounded by a bunch of empty Red Bull cans, snacks, pizza boxes? You're probably not too far off. And today, I'm going to change that picture for you. I'm Melinda Wittstock. Today on Wings of Inspired Business, we meet an inspiring tech innovator and entrepreneur who's changing the game for women of color in tech. These days, Dr. Nashley Cephas is the tech evangelist for Amazon AI, focusing on fairness and identifying biases in the artificial intelligence at AWS AI. This after selling her innovative AI company PartPick to Amazon back in 2018. Nashley is also the founder and CEO of the Beanpath nonprofit organization based in Jackson, Mississippi, where she assists individuals and startups with technical expertise and guidance. Last year, she also became the owner and developer of the Jackson Tech District, 14 acres of mixed-use commercial real estate in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, to bring tech training and workforce and economic development to the area. Today, we dig deep into biases in artificial intelligence and efforts to bring more women and women of color into the tech space, something close to my heart. So I can't wait to introduce you to Dr. Nashley. First, thanks so much for listening to Wings. Please take a moment, subscribe to the show at melindawittstock.com. You can also follow Wings of Inspired Business on Facebook at Wings Podcast, and at I am Melinda Wittstock, Twitter at Melinda Wings, and Instagram at Melinda Wittstock 2020. And if you like what you're hearing, please review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. More episodes at melindawittstock.com and on Podopolo, the hot new personalized and interactive podcast app. Grab your exclusive private pass now to the invite-only app at podopolo.com. Do you have a podcast? If you do, yours is one of 4 million now featured on Podopolo, the new app that makes listening social and podcasting profitable for content creators like you. So if you want to grow and engage listeners and monetize your podcast, I'm inviting you now to download Podopolo from either app store and claim your podcast for free. That's Podopolo, available on the Apple and Google app stores. Dr. Nashley Cephas grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and against the odds, found her way into tech and artificial intelligence. With a PhD from the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology, she went on to become the CTO for an innovative AI company called PartPick. She sold it several years back to Amazon, where she then led the Amazon visual search team in Atlanta, and she now serves as a tech evangelist for Amazon AI, focusing on ensuring fairness and lack of racial bias in artificial intelligence. Nashley is devoted to giving back to lift other people of color in the Deep South to prosperity via tech training and advancement. She's also the founder and CEO of the Beanpath, a nonprofit organization based in Jackson, Mississippi, her hometown, assisting individuals and startups with technical expertise and guidance. In September of 2020, she also became the owner and developer of the Jackson Tech District, It's 14 acres of mixed use commercial real estate in downtown Jackson to bring tech training and workforce and economic development to the area. Featured as Georgia Tech's inaugural Top 40 Under 40 alumni in 2020 and winning MSU's College of Engineering Young Emerging Leader Award in 2019, Nashley is a true inspiration. Today, she shares her story, plus what it takes for women, especially women of color, to succeed with tech startups, plus the challenges of making AI fair and representative of the true diversity of our society. So let's put on our wings with the inspiring Dr. Nashley Cephas. Nashley, welcome to Wings.
Thanks so much for having me.
I am so fascinated by the work you're doing on Amazon right now around AI and fairness, biases in AI. Given that AI is kind of like taking over the world, like just I can't even imagine the exponential number of applications we're going to see in all areas of our lives over the coming years. It's a really, really important issue. Tell me, what are some of the challenges that you're finding in terms of making sure that the AI, which is written by humans, isn't biased by humans?
Yeah, there's several places where biases can be introduced in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And so, of course, there's the data. Of course, there's the annotations of the data. Is the data annotated correctly? Is it annotated by a diverse group with different perspectives? And let me back up just a minute because sometimes people don't even know what AI really is. I mean, I'm sure people hear it.
Right.
You're actually walking around with it in your pocket if you have a cell phone. But yeah, basically AI, which oftentimes is referred to as machine learning, is we think of it as any way that a computer can see, think, act, respond, touch like a human. And so that could be in the form of, our devices that talk back to us. They could be in the form of robots, as well as simple as, recommendation systems like what sort of products do you like to buy and what do ads send your way to see if you're interested in clicking on it. And so all these algorithms, AI and machine learning, it's really just learning from previous data. And so we create these algorithms that we train on prior data, and it helps us realize and recognize new patterns and things in the wild when we go out, based on this learned behavior. And so when it comes to biases, it's very important that, getting back to the data, that we train on whatever data is most representative of the application where the technology is going to be used. And
Exactly. Like bad data in is bad data out and then some, because it self
yes,
reinforces.
yes. Just like I always say, my math teacher used to say, just because you use a calculator doesn't guarantee you the right answer. You got to put the right data in to get the right data out.
Absolutely. So when you think of the bro culture, in Silicon Valley, you think of, the people that are writing the AI, there's a real issue about diversity in tech, like who's actually writing all this stuff.
Yeah. So that is, I think, an industry-wide problem that we want to make sure, especially in the United States and abroad, really, but especially in the United States, majority of the technology up to a certain point was developed on the West Coast. It started in Silicon Valley, kind of branched out. You kind of got pockets in Northeast, as well as Austin has a big presence. But the world is so much bigger. The country is so much bigger. And so even if you have technology being developed in these certain regions, it can also be biased according to these certain regions, which oftentimes leads you to having very, homogeneous tech teams that don't have much diversity,
White
don't have
guys. I
much
mean,
differences.
white guys
Yep.
from MIT, Stanford, Harvard,
Yeah,
right?
and actually, in terms of if you take it a step further in artificial intelligence, majority of the people on those tech teams are East Asian or Indian. There actually aren't
Okay.
any. Actually, it's actually
Okay,
hard to
so
find a
not white
white
guys
guy.
necessarily, not a lot of white guys. That's funny.
But that is true. Like overall, if you look at the whole tech industry, even outside of AI, I think Black women, like myself, we represent maybe 3% of the whole tech and engineering industry. And so, as far as tech teams, engineers and scientists and developers.
Yeah, that really has to change because everybody sees information and data and whatnot through their own lived experience
Hmm.
and their own biases, which they may or may not even be aware of. And we've seen what happens when, say, in the context of Facebook, where the AI kind of runs rampant. And as a result, we have all this disinformation. We have people living in parallel universes, like there's an Earth 1 and an Earth 2 and an Earth 99, etc. And people fall further and further and further into these, I guess I could call them rabbit holes, where it becomes self-reinforcing, and it's a major societal problem. So when
Hmm.
you look at this, it's a big problem that you're tackling.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And there are a lot of people involved, stakeholders. It makes it even more challenging because as a technologist, yeah, we could say, okay, I'm going to focus on making this product as unbiased and as fair as possible and make it as explainable as is possible. We can understand exactly what's going on with these models. But even outside of that, you have government and policymakers that aren't oftentimes are not up to the same speed as the technologies and the speed at which the technology is developing. Along the lines of that, you have the consumers purchasing that technology. Sometimes these consumers are organizations where you have military and police departments and other types of law enforcement that are using the technology. And are they educated properly? Do they understand how to use the technology? Do they have biases themselves, and are they using the tools, in the wrong ways? Are they misusing the tools? So there's so many angles at which areas of improvement are needed, and special focus and emphasis should be put.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. So there you are at Amazon, having sold your company to Amazon, and we're going to get into that in a moment. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh,
But
thanks.
you sell your company, and so now you're there at Amazon. And so talk to me a little bit about the specific work that you're doing there and what that's like.
Yeah, so it was quite a journey working for a startup. It was called PARTPIC, and we created visual search for replacement parts, screws, nuts, bolts, washers. We allowed you to take a picture of a part, and we would recognize the part. Not only recognize it, but we would also measure it. We would ask you to put a penny next to the part for a size reference, and the algorithm would use that to measure things about the part. So, for example, it was a hex bolt. We say this is a hex bolt. We recognize this is a hex bolt. It is 2 inches long. It's a half an inch base diameter, 15 threads per inch. And this is a link to where you can buy that exact part. And so that was the value that we added. If you're a DIYer, I'm definitely one. I love to put all sorts of things together, fix things, break them, put them back together, make them better. Oftentimes you run into, oh man, I lost a screw or I dropped one down the drain or I got this old thing, I don't know where to find this part. And so it'd be so easy to just snap a picture of it and find it. And so that's where actually shout out to Jewel Burke. She was a CEO who that was her idea of the company. She was working at a parts company, had the same issue trying to find the parts. Her granddad also would he ran a tractor, had a farm, and oftentimes would need parts for his tractor. So that's where the idea was born. And so we were able to build a team over a couple years and hired about 10 to 12 people. We're very successful in raising capital, given it had several challenges. We raised about for our seed fund about 1.5 million, and we're able to build the team. I remember I was actually presenting at a conference in Boston in 2016. I really didn't want to go to the conference really because I was like, another conference. I'm not a big extrovert, outgoing person, especially at that time. And so the CEO, Jules, she needed me to go and give that presentation. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I went and gave the presentation at that conference talking about our technology on stage. And as soon as I walked down the stage, a guy from Amazon approached me and said, hey, we're interested in your company. Can we talk some more? And it actually took several months after that of due diligence. He did actually follow up with us. I gave him my card. I remember Jewel reached out, and then we went back and forth several times with the team and bringing them to Atlanta because we were based in Atlanta. And sure enough, we decided to sell the company after that due diligence and understanding, okay, this will not only put all of us in a better situation financially. We're joining Amazon. We get Amazon stock. Our stock converts over to Amazon stock, which, in case you didn't know, since 2016, it's almost quadrupled. And so it also helped us to say, okay, given it was extremely difficult to raise that seed money, the people that took a chance on us, we are able to say, yes, we were a Black female-led tech company that were successful in the Southeast, and we had a successful acquisition, which I don't know many startups that can say that, especially within a 2-year period. And
No,
so,
hardly anyone gets to exit like that. And the fact that you guys did that and from where you started, the fact that you got funded, the fact that you got to exit in 2 years is an extraordinary accomplishment. I mean, we should be seeing much, much more of that. But like female founders
mhm,
still only get 2% of the venture money.
mhm, mhm.
Right?
Oh yeah,
And for women of color, I mean, gosh, like the stats obviously even worse. And so that's
yeah.
an amazing, amazing accomplishment. Lift as we climb is more than words. It's revenue and profit. When our carefully curated community of women entrepreneurs joined together for our 2 retreats in 2019, magic happened. Together, we've exchanged more than $500,000 in new business between us. Yes, women do succeed when we collaborate with each other, when we take meaningful action to support one another, promote each other, buy from each other, mentor each other, invest in each other. That's why I'm inviting you to join us at our 5-star retreat destination in Costa Rica this October, so you can step into a world where women in business genuinely lift as we climb. Learn more at wingsexperiences.com/apply. That's wingsexperiences.com/apply. Expect magic. And we're back with Dr. Nashley Cephas, CEO of the Bean Path and tech evangelist for Amazon AI, focusing on ensuring fairness and lack of racial bias in artificial intelligence. There's so many questions I have to ask you. I mean, what was it
Mhm.
like to find that investment? How did you do it? Because I think a lot of women listening here are like, wait a minute, what's their secret?
Yeah,
How do they get it done?
I'm pretty sure everyone is still processing how this happened. And it's been almost 5 years since we sold the company, and 2013 is when we started it. And so I remember I was a struggling grad student at Georgia Tech at the time. I was just really trying to help, providing some, advice and kind of helping out, build out the prototype. And she was able to take that. And I think that to me was a key part, because it's one thing to pitch an idea, but especially in terms of the tech startup world, but it's another thing to have a working prototype. And so with that, and I noted that because I'm like, wow, think about how many startups had great ideas but didn't have access to maybe somebody like me who could help them build out this prototype for, very low cost or no cost, and be able to have something to show investors. And it really makes a difference. Now, I will say that I've definitely, as you mentioned, not everybody has to show and prove as much as we did. I think I remember one particular pitch competition. There was a group of East Asian males. They pitched the idea. It was actually another startup, computer vision related, where you were recognizing things in video, and they didn't have anything. It wasn't a working prototype or anything. And we also pitched at that same competition, and we were not able to win that investment. And they were able to, right off the bat, I think that same year they raised 10 million to our
Ugh.
our little one one point, which was a lot of money to me. At 1.5 million was a lot of money to me at the time. It's the most I'd ever seen in a check. But it's not a lot, especially if you're talking about a tech
It's
startup
not a lot.
with
It's not a lot for a
engineers.
tech. It's not a lot for a
Hmm.
tech company because the cost of building it, and the fact that it's never really completely always it's never
Right,
the
right.
work's never done, right? Like it's
Mhm.
never complete. You're continually innovating, and then to just go, it costs money to seize market, all that stuff. And for the women who do get funded, we tend to get smaller checks at lower valuations. And I remember being at a pitch competition like 2 companies ago, and I had a very similar experience. I was the only woman on the stage of like 10 guys. We were the
Mhm.
only company that had customers and actually talked about our customers and got to the end of the pitch competition. And the judges, all these investors, were evaluating us. And one of them actually said, God, it would have been nice if someone had talked about their customers. And I'm like, hello. Like my entire, were you just not present? Did you just kind of like shut your ears when the
Yeah.
woman was talking? Like, what was that?
That happens too. That happens. That definitely happens.
It was extraordinary. I mean, so in a
And I
way, like we have to show more
oh
and get
yeah.
less. But even
Yeah.
so, just getting that accomplishment and then now getting to an exit, when you start, say, your next company, you have that track record, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And you can say, look, I got a good exit. I got my investors made money on this deal. And the more women of color can just pull that off. It's taking time, but we're talking about patterns in the AI.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
the patterns here, just have to be established. So, congratulations again, because I can only imagine, and it's not even imagining. I've been in that situation so many times myself. So I
Mhm.
know exactly. I know
Yeah.
exactly the size of that accomplishment.
Yeah, I'll say that we were so grateful for the investors that did support us and the pitch competitions that I know Jewel was entering at the time, the CEO, as well as Jason, our COO, were entering and pitching for. We made it to the finalist round for TechCrunch Disrupt, and so we also won the accelerator pitch competition at South by Southwest one year. We were asked to come and pitch at the White House demo day when President Obama was in office. And so I remember just getting so much traction. Even Alexis Ohanian, he had us on. He used to have a show. And he used to have a show on YouTube called Small Empires that the company Part Pick was featured on. And so it was extremely difficult, even being in the Southeast as a tech company, because especially back in 2012, 2013, like even in Atlanta, Atlanta wasn't the same Atlanta it is now back then, almost 10 years ago. And so convincing people to invest in tech startups, whereas you had a heavy market of, real estate investors, it was very difficult, to get those people to buy in and believe. We had several people always ask us, when are you all moving to Silicon Valley? Or why don't you move to New York? If you move to New York, I'll give you this investment. We even had people ask, which I know has been reported several times. People were asking, "Is your team still all black? Is your C-suite team still all black?" As if there was something wrong with that. And I'm like, "Is your team still all white?" Because
Yeah,
you
that's
got
just crazy. I mean, right? And
so
and and not only that you weren't in Atlanta, which has become more of a tech hub, but you're in Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, how much
yeah,
of a tech hub is there
yeah,
even
so
even now?
so Jackson, Mississippi is my hometown, and I have since I was based in Atlanta majority of the past 10 years or so. So even with the startup company based in Atlanta, we were there. And once we sold the company and I joined Amazon in 2016, I said, okay, now we've done the work here. Now it's time to start looking back at Mississippi. And I wanted, for the longest, I've always wanted to go back home and be able to make an impact. There is a big problem with what we call brain drain. In Mississippi, it's when people who are very gifted, very talented, and educated, especially those who have a lot to offer, they can't find the opportunities that they want in Mississippi, or they can find them, but they're not going to get paid what they're worth, and so they leave the state. And so there's also an issue with the tech equity in a place like Mississippi. And I'm from Jackson, which is the capital city. And so I remember every time I would go back home, I was like, it doesn't feel like we're progressing at the same rate as other cities in the Southeast, especially as close as New Orleans or Memphis or, the surrounding areas. And so I wanted to make sure that I was contributing to that. Having been a successful tech CTO, now at a big corporate company like Amazon, having this extra capital at my disposal now, I started the Bean Path, which is my nonprofit I started in 2018 in Jackson, Mississippi. And so, and even though I'm still based in Atlanta, I'm back and forth every 2 weeks or so. My family's still in Jackson. Most of them are in Jackson, so it's really easy for me to go back and visit. And what we did was we started doing free tech help desk at the local libraries. And so we would do everything from, if you're an entrepreneur and you need help, technical guidance, you want to know, say you're trying to build a software platform, you don't know you don't even know what an architecture is. We can help you with that. If you're a non-technical founder, you want to wrap your head around what does a technical roadmap look like for my company, or how do I even hire tech talent? How do I even know that this proposal that this developer sent me it makes sense and it is something that I should move forward with or not? Or are they just trying to, charge me a bunch of money? And so that is exactly what we do at the Bean Path. We also help youth, expose them to technology. We do several mentoring programs, after school programs. We have a summer program going on right now, summer camp, and we're getting ready to launch our physical space, where we're going to build out a maker space and several other equipment and places where we can do more of this same training in addition to what we were already doing at the libraries. So I'm excited about what's to come next.
Oh, that is fantastic. It's so important. I think when founders have exits, and I think we all help each other tremendously when we reinvest that back into, I think on this podcast, it's called Wings because we talk about lifting as we climb.
Hmm.
And so getting women into tech, first of all, is a big uplift. Creating the
Hmm.
circumstances where they're able to do that, but also the ecosystems where we're really supporting each other, to make this happen is vital. So what you're doing with the Jackson Tech District is really, really, oh gosh, it's so important. Not only the impact on the tech innovation and all of that, but the economic development piece and everything. So tell me, whereabouts is that? Like, are you? Tell me a little bit more about it. How
Hmm.
hard is it to kind of recruit people into the tech training? Do you have a lot of people want to do it? What kind of people
Yeah.
are showing up there, and what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, yeah. So, and by the way, if anyone wants to check out what we're doing with the Jackson Tech District, our website is jxntechdistrict.com. And what that is a 14 acres of land that I purchased in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. It has 8 buildings that currently sit on it. Most of them is an abandoned area. It's been pretty dilapidated most majority of my life. And so, what we're doing is we're creating a tech hub, live, work, play. We'll have everything from entrepreneurship center to, the Bean Path. My nonprofit will have a headquarters there. We'll be bringing together several other organizations. We'll be building residential buildings as well as more commercial and retail and lab space. We'll have maker spaces. We'll have an event venue center, restaurants, grocery stores, parking garage, those sort of things. We're working with the city to do an entire revitalization of that area. And I'm excited about all the players that are coming to the table, including, outside of just the local and state organizations and people that are, believe in the mission and support us and are assisting us in one way or another. There's so many people outside of Mississippi that are excited and support what we're doing. We had some really great press earlier this year with the article in Inc. magazine, as well as Black Enterprise. There's also been several others, as well as documentaries that are in the process of being published. Acer, for example, the computer company, they have donated a lot of equipment to us, as well as funding. Airbnb also supported us with funding, and we're in process of talking to, of course, Amazon. about ways that they can assist with the project and help us develop some of the buildings. I'm just really excited. I think for me, the biggest challenges with that is that this has never been done before. And I've never done a real estate development project before. And so outside of, me the naivety and me thinking that, I have a PhD, I'm done with school, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning. But I welcome it because if this is what it takes, then this is what I'm gonna do. And I think that, like you said, the track record this time around, especially in terms of real estate, because that's a little bit more guaranteed than, tech startups and the impact that it's having in the state. We're getting so much support. I think another challenge is we're getting so many people reaching out, like wanting to help and support, and the demand is so high. I had to add people to my team. I had to expand. I had to start raising money a lot faster than I originally anticipated, just to handle the demand and the people that are wanting to come to the table and help us and support us financially. And so it's kind of convincing the people there that this is a project that they're going to want to buy into, which now as far as I've gotten along now, that's not a huge problem anymore. But also making sure that we're involving as many people as possible and being as inclusive as possible with this tech hub.
That's fantastic. I know there are so many companies, I mean, including mine, looking for great, diverse talent to
Mhm.
going back full circle in our conversation to really tackle the AI. In my case, with my current app right now, and we're right in the middle of like recommendation engines around, a podcasting app,
Mm,
with an absolute dedication to transforming social interactivity and social media in such a
mm,
way that we bust the filter bubble and protect
mm,
people's privacy at the same time, unearthing content that's relevant to people so they can have that personalized experience, but also, find content that they might not have otherwise been interested in, and moreover, have meaningful, positive conversations that improve the world rather than not, right? Recruiting and finding the people that are the right people to go build it
mhm, mhm.
is, easier said than done. And so I just want to put my hand up nationally, like I'm in the market for some great talent. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you. And no doubt, I think given especially, what happened last year with the unfortunate deaths and the Black Lives Matter movement, we've seen how important it is for social justice and diversity, just in general. We want to make sure that people are not being marginalized, discriminated against. The only way to do that is to get more perspectives. That's
yes,
in terms of different age groups, different regions, different ethnicities, different or sexual orientations. Like that involves having people come to your table, to your team. And if you can't necessarily hire, all those people, then make sure you're reaching out to focus groups. Make sure that you're consulting with, as many different types of opinions as possible when it comes to product development. And that's now, as we call in this term, product inclusion and software development, inclusion in software development, it's a very important thing to do. And so it's almost tied to ethics when you think
it
about it. And
is.
so
Very
it
much so.
oh
I
yeah,
I
oh
I
yeah.
see it I see it in that way, and I see so much potential for just lack of ethics. When you think of the applications, like just even in building we have a diverse team, but
Hmm.
in, building our website and our collateral, just even, you go and search for images, and the only images you find of, say, podcasters or white people. And it's like, oh, come
Hmm.
on,
Yeah.
right? Just so like it's kind of like everywhere, or just visual recognition
Hmm.
technology, or a lot of the things that have been built that are built with the just I'm just going to call it for what it is, built with racism ingrained in it.
Hmm.
And, depending on your perspective or your consciousness, how obvious that is, I guess, is different for different people. It's pretty obvious to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think it's and will become a significant, it is a significant challenge, but it's vital that it gets addressed, because there's no point repeating all the ways in which racism is institutionalized. in this country in many ways. And so what are some of the ways that tech can, and entrepreneurship generally, can address that, right?
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
this is why what you're doing is so important.
Yeah. And I definitely take you up on that offer to help source diverse tech talent. Mississippi is actually more diverse than people think. The capital city, Jackson, is majority Black. The surrounding areas are very diverse. Mississippi is actually more bipartisan even than people think. And so I think that if we continue to provide more opportunities for people there, people like me don't necessarily have to leave the state if they don't want to. We just want to provide
Exactly.
more options to the people who are they already have the expertise, they're already brilliant. We're just bringing it to them. And I did want to mention, definitely if people are interested in supporting the Bean Path, they can check us out at thebeanpath.org. Definitely check out. We love to take volunteers to help us with our. We're doing virtual tech office hours now, so anyone can participate in that. We also appreciate any donations if anyone wants to support our upcoming program. We're raising money for our makerspace and makerspace equipment, and which again will be housed at the Tech District. And I did want to mention one other initiative that I have since I'm in Atlanta. I was like, that's a great place to have a footprint as well. And so a couple of my colleagues I graduated from Georgia Tech with, we created this place called KIT Labs. Stands for KITT Lab, stands for Knowledge, Information, Technology, and Tools. And it is a place for Black and Brown STEM professionals to come and build a network, to join the network, to have membership, access to space, office space, lab equipment. And we'd love to have anyone interested in joining us or becoming a member to join that. And hopefully one day soon we will launch our access to that tech talent too. So we hope to provide a direct pipeline to people like you, and making sure that people have options and know where to go find that diverse tech talent.
Oh, fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, you preempted my question, which is how can people find you, support you, work with you? But
Oh, yes.
we'll make sure that we have
Well,
all of that, in the show notes. If anyone's listening to this while they're driving, don't
yeah.
get into an accident or whatever, all that is available.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast, just check the show notes.
I will say definitely follow us on social media. I didn't mention that at well, if you want to follow me personally, at Phenomenashly. It's PHENOMENASHLIE, or follow us at the Bean Path, at the Bean Path on all social platforms. And Tech District, we soon be hosting lunch in that social media as well. Kit Labs, it'll be at JXN Tech District. And Kit Labs, my final venture is if I don't have enough. My final venture, Kit Labs, you can follow us on social platforms at KITTLABS.
Fantastic. Well, Nashley, thank you so much for taking the time to put your wings on and fly with us here on the podcast. Really enjoyed our conversation. You're doing amazing work, and congratulations again on all your progress.
Yeah, thanks so much, Melinda. I appreciate it.
Dr. Nashley Cephas is the founder and CEO of the Bean Path, as well as the Jackson Tech District, 14 acres of mixed-use commercial real estate in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, bringing tech training and economic development to the area. She's also tech evangelist for Amazon AI, focusing on ensuring fairness and lack of racial bias in artificial intelligence. Is this the year you finally launch that podcast of yours? I believe your voice is your value, and I believe your voice is your passport to engage the world in your true purpose and mission. And that when you do leverage your voice as a podcaster, miracles manifest for you and your business and the impact that you want to have in the world. That's why I'm sharing with you my complimentary 7-step guide to engaging your tribe with a magnetic podcast that makes you money. If that sounds good, go to wingspodcast.com/liftoff. Grab the PDF guide. It's complimentary. That's wingspodcast.com/liftoff. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Head on over to wingspodcast.com and subscribe to the show. When you subscribe, you'll instantly get my special gift, the Wings Success Formula. Women innovating, networking, growing, scaling is the Wings of Inspired Business formula for daily success in your business and your life. And when you go to wingspodcast.com/win and post a review to Apple Podcasts, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a once-in-a-lifetime VIP opportunity to mastermind with me personally to grow and scale your business or launch a profitable podcast. That's wingspodcast.com. And don't forget to grab your exclusive private pass to the new invite-only Podopolo app, where you can build your personalized listening library from 4 million podcasts, connect with friends for meaningful conversation, and win rewards. More at podopolo.com.